Oh, it's not a cut. That's a slice.
Now this is a quack hook.
Oh,
Short
wow.
and into the right rough, headed to the trees.
Oh my God, it's a shank. He decided to re-tee. That's a shank. Oh, man.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another edition of the Two-Way Miss podcast. Thank you, as always, for joining us wherever, whenever you might be listening and or watching. Hopefully, you're subscribed to the YouTube channel. Do it. I see you out there, and you haven't done it yet, and I'm only a little bit disappointed, but I'll get over it. I am one of your hosts, Mr. Regz, and as always, I am joined by the good buddy Banksy. Banksy, how you doing? You're looking dapper tonight in your collared shirt. I feel severely underdressed.
Hey, I appreciate it.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing you kept the cat tower, so now I don't take you seriously at all. So
I have nowhere else to go. Just me and the cats
just hanging
back
out
here in the office, man. I know. Tell you what.
Again, I don't think I'll get over the fact that it's you who has done this to yourself. This is not your wife's problem. This is your problem.
It's my. They're cats. They take care of themselves.
Yep. That doesn't mean you need 9 of them.
Is that how many? Is that how many I have?
It has. I mean, I was over like a few months ago, so I assume it's 9 by this point. It was 2, then it was 4 because you found 2 more. So I just by kind of the law of mathematics here, it's got to be at least up to 8 at this point, right?
I don't do math. I don't know.
No, that's true. Your realtor clients will enjoy that.
It's all estimates, man.
Yeah,
It's
that's
all
right.
estimates.
That's right. The bank does the math, right?
Yeah. That's not my job.
That's right. Well, buddy, there's a third square on the screen that people,
Sure is.
might be wondering who's joining us. Why don't you take it from here?
This is avid listener and fellow golfer, Mr. Brock Hoover. Welcome to the show. Glad you could join us tonight.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Yeah, it's very formal, obviously, as he found out as we were talking before we got started. Real, as I crack my other beer, real professional outfit here.
Well,
It comes at you fast. I was just a fan of the podcast a day ago, and now all of a sudden here I
Now
am.
all of a sudden, here you are.
here you
I think
are.
everyone's going to be jealous of your setup behind you. I see the bar, I see the projector screen. Like, people are going to be jealous.
I thought you were talking about me.
No, I'm not jealous of your cat tower, you weirdo.
Oh,
Yeah, it's
There
no
it
cat
is.
tower, but it's 142 inches if you're wondering out there what the projector
Oh,
screen
man.
size is.
There you go. Not to brag.
yeah.
Not to
Hear
brag.
that, ladies? 142 inches.
Has to carry it around in a bucket when he walks around. No. Great to have you. We haven't had the pleasure of golfing yet. Most of the time when I meet Banksy's friends from up Lancaster way, I've usually golfed with them at some point, and I have to either remember or Banks reminds me. But
Yeah.
we haven't had the pleasure just yet, but we'll fix that.
Well, we
Yeah,
have
we'll
to
get
We'll figure it
play
out.
so early. Between my 9 cats and your 9 kids, it's hard to. We have to go out at 5 o'clock in the morning so we can get back to our other duties.
See, I can make sure I don't have any
Yeah.
more of those. I don't know if you can stop with the cats. I'm not sure you have the willpower.
I don't think it's that bad. Yeah, Hoover's got a whole house full of nothing. So
Listen,
he's living
that's
the dream.
life. Someday when we retire, right, Banks?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Something like that.
Just keep talking about it.
That's right.
Powerball.
Eventually,
Somebody's got to win.
I tried the other day. We tried. Sunk
Tried.
$20 into it. We woke up because we were telling the boys about it, and my middle son, who's 6, woke up, and like the second thing he said, or like I let him get up, get changed. He comes running into our room as like we're getting ready, my wife and I, and he's like, "Daddy, did we win $1 billion?" I was like, "No, buddy, we didn't. I'm sorry." I was like, I would have come into your room much more excited if we had actually won it, but
How do you handle that?
he just kind of put his head down and like walked downstairs. Got something to eat. It was pretty funny. Well, Mr. Hoover, thank you for joining us. Thanks, I guess, just for listening in the first place. We're always just happy to have people that actually listen to it. And I know Banksy gets a bunch of text messages when we're late or we've taken like a couple week break because golf gets boring sometimes. And there's just something to talk about, but we appreciate it.
I didn't want to get on him too bad, but there was that big layoff, and I kept looking for the new episode, and it never came and never came. And every once in a while, I'd send him a little tidbit or something that he could use on the pod. I know I got a shout out at one point, not by name, but one of my facts made it in there, so I was just happy to help.
There you go. I appreciate you keeping him honest. And yeah, look, we've been, as we will always be, we are very honest, right? If there's nothing fun to talk about, we're not gonna, people just don't enjoy the sound of our voice, I don't think. But
usually I go by my like satellite radio in my car. I listen to the golf channel. If they're not talking about golf, it's like
right.
we probably don't have anything to talk about.
They're talking about
either.
fantasy football for 3 weeks or something else.
Right. Yeah, it's like, well, I guess there's not much going on right now.
Yep, and they get paid to do it. That's
and they get paid to do it. Well, thankfully,
Wait, I'm not paid for tonight.
Yeah, we didn't quite hash out his contract.
I could send you some beer or something.
I got a Lebanon Cedars golf hat earlier, so I guess I'll call that even.
Go Cedars.
I haven't even gotten one of them yet, so you're up on me.
There's no way this hat is fitting your head, Regz.
I need a extra large flex fit.
Yeah, it wasn't in the budget this year.
Figure it out.
I have some golf tees.
All right, I'll take those.
You want a sleeve of balls?
Yeah, absolutely. I know you buy Titleist for your terrible golfing students. So
hey, listen, they're getting better.
That's right.
And some of the best attitudes I've ever seen.
You don't have to convince us. We're not the ones paying for it. So, all right, guys. Well, something did happen in the golf world.
Oh God!
The USA got stomped in the Ryder Cup. That's just your quick highlight for those just joining us. The quick highlight is the USA got absolutely mollywopped, as they like to say. As a final score, 16.5 to 11.5. This one, what do you guys think? There was 20 minutes where the USA kind of had some hope in singles.
Yeah. And it doesn't even feel like it was that close. Like 16.5 to 11. It doesn't even feel like it was that close. It felt like it was 16.5 to 2.
From the jump, it wasn't close.
Yeah.
Quite literally.
I like the projected score in the bottom right would always just crush your hopes. Like they were trying to talk up the United States making this comeback, and then you look at the projected score and it still said 16 to 12 or 16.5 to 11.5 the whole day.
Yeah, the red would pop up like a little bit, and then you'd look like 5 minutes later and be gone. It would be like blue, and then you'd be like, "Oh, there's some red over there finally," and then no, it's back to blue. Yeah, it didn't. So, like we talked about this a little bit, but we're gonna go through every match. We're gonna talk about every single one. Some we will breeze right by because they're not worth talking about, and others we might talk about for a while. But we're gonna get through all of them, and then kind of finish with our final thoughts about not only this year but Bethpage coming up, and some of our thoughts about the event in general. So Friday morning foursomes. Again, for those maybe not too familiar with this event style, foursomes is alternate shot. I get events
really,
not the
really
right word,
hard,
but like
really
it's
hard.
very hard, yeah. And also the USA isn't good at it. So, unfortunately for the USA, they still were bad at it this morning. So, out the gate, John Rahm, Tyrrell Hatton against Scotty Scheffler, Sam Burns. I mean, either of you guys take this one, but like Burns did not show up. Scotty played pretty well, but like Burns was just like an anchor dragging him down.
Like if you're a fan of the USA, I mean, I think you lost some hope immediately there, day one, match one, when you saw him run Burns out. I mean, his tee to green numbers, just to throw some names out at you, he's there with Higo, Neesmith, and Duffner. Those are the three guys around Burns when it comes to strokes gained. I mean, you're canceling out a historical year by Scheffler by throwing him out there with Burns.
Pretty much all because he won the match play, and he's Scotty's buddy.
Yeah. The match play that was what, nine months ago?
Yeah, and Scotty didn't want to play with anybody else,
which is also an issue, I think.
Yeah, I mean,
as we might get into later, like this whole I want to play with this person and I want to play with that person, like it's just I don't know.
Yeah, that's it.
I understand hearing the player's voice, but you need to make.
That's a much deeper conversation about.
It is a deep conversation.
The USA attitude towards all this, but I mean, look, they won one hole. Like if you want to just sum it up, the USA won one hole. I get it. Ties are sometimes good in match play situations, so we're not saying that they lost every other one. But if you're just looking at holes won, Europe won 5, and the USA won 1 hole, and you lost 4 and 3. So not ideal. Coming out thinking that Scotty should be one of the guys who's absolutely carrying you.
Right.
Like that's how this should be. Scotty, with the season that he had, should be one of those guys that you consider running out 5 times and who should be just no one should win when they play Scotty Scheffler. So it's just I'm not sure who else you put with him. Like Scotty Homa probably doesn't lose this entire Ryder Cup. That's kind of hindsight, obviously, because we know Max played really, really well.
Yeah, but you kind of knew he was gonna he's that
kind of guy. Yeah,
he's that kind of player. Like you think.
Yeah.
You kind of through personalities and play, you kind of know that that's the player that he is, and he would do well in this situation. I know you're a huge Homa guy, Regz, and I think I'm a little bit more on board with that.
I'm firmly on the bandwagon
because he played great.
Yeah,
he played well, and he can pull off shots and grind out holes.
So look, we say that, and he was the only one with a winning record on the entire U.S. team. And Perfect. He came out and lost 4-3 against Hovland and Aberg.
Yeah.
In the second match. As soon as Victor chipped in on number 1, I said, "This is over." I almost turned it off. I was like, "Well, what? This guy's the hottest player in the world, and he's doing this stuff. Like, there's no chance." Yeah. And look, Harman did not play well.
No.
In this round, apparently. Max had a really good interview with No Laying Up just recently. It came out yesterday. But as always, he was very candid, about everything going on. And, his, not reasoning, but when they talked about this particular match is that, Harman was kind of in the middle of whatever sickness was going around. And this was kind of when he felt the worst. And he played like it. Harman did not play well this particular morning. Yeah, so it just... I mean, even with Ludwig being a rookie, he played okay, I feel like, in this first match. But goddamn Victor Hovland, man. That dude is just a killer. He's just a killer.
Yeah, and he has...
Go ahead.
I just say, he's having a blast out there. Like, he's having so much fun, which completely changes the game when you can go out and have fun doing what you're doing. So, I mean, I assumed he was going to play super well. Wedge game is much improved, which gives him even more confidence. I think everything that he did out there was completely expected, and yeah, he played great.
Yeah, his attitude, I was going to say, it has to settle rookies down that are playing with him. Like you said, Aberg, Aubert, however you want to pronounce it now. Him coming into that situation with that partner, I think was just a perfect match. And even after that chip in on 1, it feels like he made some pretty lengthy putts then in those next couple holes too, that just, you never felt like they were going to lose that match.
Yeah. Ludwig, again, wasn't great. It was just this was just Victor Hovland being like, yeah, I'm the best player that's out here. And nothing, I think to that point, nothing makes him, he doesn't get mad. You can't get under his skin with anything. That's just his attitude. And it's really interesting, and this is maybe going off on a little bit of tangent, right off in the beginning, but it's interesting to kind of look at the career trajectory now of him and Wolf and Morikawa as those 3 guys who came out at the same time. Obviously, Colin goes out and wins the 2 majors very quickly. You know, Hovland's the guy who wins in like Puerto Rico and Bermuda, you know, places like that for much of his career. And he comes out this year and is a monster and figures out the chipping. Morikawa hasn't really sniffed a win anytime soon. Really, well, Hawaii, I guess, this year, right? And then he has that kind of duff chip and it all kind of goes to hell. We know what Wolf has gone on live and like getting benched or traded by Brooks Koepka off his team because he doesn't think he wants to play golf anymore. Again, I don't think we need to validate live golf with anything about it, but that's just like, that's where that dude is. You know what I mean? Like that's where Matthew Wolff is right now. This guy that everyone who had a better college career than Morikawa and Hovland, like almost combined. Like Matt Wolff was a monster in college golf. But if you had to like say right now who's going to win more majors in their life, I would think you would like, I know it's somewhat recency bias, but just the game, like it's Hovland, right? His game has gotten so much better. And he just he hits it as far as anybody. His ball striking is great. All everyone said was just figure out the chipping. Just be average. He doesn't even have to be that good at it. Just don't suck. And you'll be the best player in the world. And he's proven that out over these past like 9-10 months.
Yeah, he's getting there. He's got it. He's obviously has to get a major to
of course,
validate all that stuff, which I'm assuming he will. But yeah, he looks great. Hopefully it continues. I'm sure he's going to be taking some time off here a little bit, but you know, hopefully that momentum carries over. We talk about that all the time. You know, these guys get so hot and they look unbeatable, and then all of a sudden you don't hear from them for months and on at a time. You're just waiting for that. You're waiting for that player to have that consistency to ride out a streak for longer than 6 months, 7 months to a year. And I don't know, maybe he'll be the guy. But yeah, he looked great. All right, what's next? Who else did we lose to?
So next one, Lowry and Seb Straka against Ricky Fowler and Colin Morikawa.
Ricky Fowler had no business.
The
being
fact
on the
that
team.
this was the featured group on like RyderCup.com is an absolute disgrace, by the way.
Ricky still has the fan base, man.
No, he doesn't. So we'll just move past that. I mean, they didn't get beat as bad as the other guys we just talked about. Technically, they only lost 2-1. So I guess when you're looking at the day, they didn't lose as badly as anybody else.
Yeah.
I don't know. I didn't watch a second of this shot on purpose, of this this group on purpose. It was just, if it was on TV, fine. But if not, whatever. I don't know if you guys had any strong opinions about it either way.
Not particularly.
No, and the TV coverage was that bad that they, the featured group or whatever.
Right.
I mean, the coverage that morning was just awful.
Yeah.
I mean, they had, since it's alternate shot, you have basically 8 balls in play when all 4 matches are out there, and they could not keep up with giving you live golf. You would have been passed out if you were playing a drinking game, hearing them say just a moment ago.
Yeah.
You heard it with every shot that was on.
Someone tracked it, and I think they said that they showed 54 shots of this group that day. And they also showed a combined like 38 shots of Tony Finau and Annika Sorenstam in that commercial with the shots that they hit.
Hitting their
It was like
bunker
it was
shots
like
with
a
their putters.
15 shot difference between a commercial and an actual golf match going on in the Ryder Cup.
I actually had the thought that I'm purposely not going to frequent that business or whatever because I was so sick of the commercial. Like their advertising was working in reverse.
Yeah.
I was just like, no, I'm not. I don't want anything to do with that.
And the problem is
anymore.
it's not their fault. It's NBC's fault. But anyway,
Correct. Yeah.
I mean, you could have told me this match, like, they decided it with a coin flip on the first tee and nobody actually played any golf, and that's fine. I mean, look, last match of the day, this is the one that everyone was kind of keying in on. McIlroy Fleetwood against Xander and Cantlay. Xander and Cantlay came into this, right, being unbeatable. They had almost taken the top spot from Spieth and Thomas as those guys who just go into these events and never lose. I don't know. I think this is, if you had to sum up Friday morning, in my head, it was Victor's chip in, and it was this match. It was them losing. And it was like, I don't know if there's any chance at this one, boys. Like, it might just kind of be over.
How did they play? I don't think I didn't get to watch as much as maybe I could have or should have. Like, how did Xander play? I didn't really hear much about Xander. And I didn't only, Cantlay, I know, had later in the week had, a lot of things going on. Like, how did Xander play? I'm not a Xander guy, so I probably would have watched anyway. But like, how did he play?
I mean, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, Hoover, but like, nothing to write home about. I think if you had to pick the better person, it was Cantlay. Xander kind of no-showed.
Okay.
I was going to say the same thing. Like, not real one shot of his sticks out to me that I can really remember. And it was just constant pressure from Rory and Fleetwood. I mean, they made them win holes, and they couldn't do it. Like, they didn't give anything away. That was a big takeaway for me in that morning round too. Like, Europe gave us nothing, and that's what you expect out of those guys on their home soil, for a Ryder Cup. But they didn't let the door open at all.
Mm-hmm.
Not that we would have really went through it with any force, but yeah, I mean, there was not an opening to be had.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you kind of look at McIlroy and Fleetwood, like that's a freaking really
that's a
good
monster
team.
combo, yeah.
Like, that's a huge combination there. That would be really tough to beat.
Yeah. All right, so 4-0 to the home team going into the afternoon. They switched to 4-ball with, again, just to, put it out there. This is when each player plays their own ball and the best score on the hole wins. So if one guy on the Team USA makes a birdie, everyone else makes a par, USA wins. That's how the 4-ball works. This one, like, the US just blew it. I don't know how else you say it. They had a chance to get themselves back on track in this afternoon and make this thing like really, really close. And they just kind of blew it in 3 of the matches. So we'll go through them. So first up, Hovland and Hatton, switching up the pairings there, but Hovland right back out, Hatton right back out against JT and Spieth. I think JT and Jordan on this particular day played better than anyone expected, given their form coming into this. They won 12 and 13, to go up 2, and then just kind of lost 14, tied 15, lost 16, tied the next 2 to tie everything. You kind of were hoping that after they win those 2 holes that they just kind of roll with it, and Hovland and Hatton they never died. It's like you said, they never gave anything. They never, if the door creaked open, like, it was shut the next hole.
Yeah, and I love Tyrrell as a Ryder Cup player. Like, I'd put him on the team.
Him and Rahm as a combo were hilarious. Just mad at every shot, even if it was good. Just like looking around, like mad at everything.
Yeah, like, this is such a perfect environment for Tyrrell to like let his emotions loose, especially at home, in front of the home crowd, because they just get it. They get into it. He's fun to watch when he can kind of let out some of his emotion.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Did we think? I mean, at least you maybe had a little bit of hope that maybe JT and Jordan can play well enough and can kind of hang in here, but I think the only thing you really take away is, like, you win 2 holes in a row and then you give them back and you kill all the momentum you had.
you got the glimpse there a little bit. You got the JT fist bumps and that the Spieth, like the down low kind of fist
Yeah.
bump after he makes a putt. You had those little moments, but like you said, I mean, you got 2 up and the red was on the board, which is everything, all they talked about was we need to see red on the board, and you had it, and then poof, it's gone.
Yeah. That might have been. Let's go back and look. Not leading in that one. Not leading in that one. Not leading. That might have been the first time that the U.S. had led a match, was when they won those 2 holes in a row. Because at that point, they had won 4 holes and Europe had only won 2. So I think that was the first time the U.S. had actually led a match, was when they won that 12th hole, which is, again, crazy. Yeah, I think, as we go on to the next day and the next day, we'll kind of see that, JT and Jordan didn't continue their sort of form. But at least for then, you kind of were like, okay, with how those guys were playing, having against like Hovland, you'll take it. It was a bummer that they kind of let it go, but you kind of have to take it given the form that those two were coming in at. Next was Rahm, Nikolai Højgaard against Scotty Scheffler and Brooks Koepka. So obviously Sam Burns sits down because he did not play well. This is the first time we see Brooks. And look, they're up 1 going into 10, the USA. They tie the next 4 holes. They win 15 to go up 2. 3, yeah. 1, 2, 3. Or they go up, sorry. They win 2 to tie it back at 10. Europe was up 2-1. They tie it at 10. They tie the next 4 holes. They go up 1 on 15. You're like, all right, let's get this. There's no way Scheffler and Koepka are going to kind of give this away. Europe wins 16 with like a monster eagle from Rahm. Goodness gracious, that guy. Just crazy. But then, look, Scotty comes back, birdies the next one, tied again. Or, back to up 1. And then Rahm makes that putt that hits the back of it, like shoots up in the air almost 4 inches. And just like, you could almost hear the bloop, that bloop sound as it goes back in the hole. And they showed an angle where you could see Scotty and Brooks like watching it happen. And like the faces that they made were just hilarious. But I don't know, man. That was another one where you're like, really? Like, this is just what this is going to be, right? This is just how this is going to work out.
I mean, they tell you in match play to expect the other guy to make everything, right? But I mean, that's one of those putts that, that's a good 10 feet pass if he misses.
Yeah.
Like, at least. And when that ball popped up, and there you had it though too. You had your 2 Americans that, like, Brooks is the killer, right? I mean, 5 majors, and you have him down 1 down the stretch, and you just kind of give it back, and that was the beginning of a really rough stretch there on 18 for the Americans for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it was. Again, I think it's so deflating because it's the other guy making the putt. It's not you missing it. You can't really go back and just be like, we had the chance to win it. I just missed it that time. It's like, no, the other guy made it on top of you and to win it. Like, that's what happened. That's when not just momentum, but like confidence kind of is like, man, are we going to get anything against these guys? Are they going to show the tiniest bit of chink in the armor? And obviously the answer is no, but that one was just like, it was almost like the Hovland chip. It's like, what do you want us to do about this? What do you want? Like, how are we supposed to beat these guys if this is what's happening? All right. Match number 3, Big Bob McIntyre, Justin Rose against Max Homa and Wyndham Clark. And, look, man, I didn't think Rosie had it in him, but he won this thing by himself in the last 5 holes. He essentially wins 3 of the last 5 by himself to tie this match. And if Justin Rose is doing this to you, like, how do you expect to win anything?
Yeah. Hey, he had a resurgent season. He's a team guy. Like I was glad I was because this would probably be his last Ryder Cup as a player.
Yeah.
You would think. So I'm glad he had a good season this year and he was able to contribute for the team because I think this is something that truly means a lot to him.
Yeah.
So it was nice to see him be able to play one last time and contribute. But yeah, he carried that. Bobby was
yeah.
a little nervous. I don't
Yeah.
know. A little
Should have just stayed home, Bob.
Bobby.
He really is the last kind of European team stalwart, of the 2000s and
Right. Yeah.
and all that is left. And really, he probably isn't. Again, he had a phenomenal season for him, and that's the reason he's on this team. Like you're not gonna. Those guys are done. Sergio, Poulter, Stenson,
Yeah,
guys
and
like that.
as of right now, they're not going to be welcomed back. I mean, Rose has assistant captaincies to look forward
absolutely.
to. He has captaincies to look forward to.
Yeah.
Who knows what's going to happen with those other guys? But yeah, I mean, Rose, he deserves it. I'm glad he had that opportunity to play and contribute.
Yeah. And then look, last match of the day, Rory and Matty Fitz go out and win 6 of the first 7 holes. I think Fitzy was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 under through 6 on his own ball.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, it's not bad. Yeah, and look, they break up it's Morikawa and Schauffele. They break up the Cantlay Xander pairing for this. Really just kind of out of desperation at this point. And you come out of this day with Europe getting a full point. Or, so you come out of this day with half. So 1, 1. So 2.5 to 1.5. And it's just like the fact that you don't come out of that day winning this is really their only chance to turn it around. Like if they maintain that.
That session should have been 3-1
right
for the U.S.
Yep.
It's a pretty good sign also when you're 6 up, or win the first 6 holes and Rory McIlroy is just, helping out.
Yeah,
like
right.
he just threw in one hole there where he played pretty well and, Fitzy just took off. But yeah, it should have been a 3-1 day. And then 5-3 going into Saturday, it's up in the air. I mean, it just feels so much different at that point.
Yeah. It really was just, you were just looking for anything. You're looking for anything to keep the USA team in it. And it's really, like you said, the Europeans just didn't let anybody get any momentum or let anything be close enough. And you talk about it and you say, oh, well, they tied. But when you really look at it, not really. The USA kind of had it in their hands and blew, they lost it and Europe took it back.
There's a difference between, you're playing a back and forth match. It's really tight and it comes down to that last hole and you have it.
Yeah.
Okay. To have those holes the way they did, it was almost driving the nail into the coffin already on Friday afternoon.
Yep. Yeah. And again, to lose 2 of the last 3 holes or something like that when you're already up 2 and to have it is that's the difference. You're not going into it tied and you just kind of tie out for the last 3 holes. You're up 2 with 2 to play and you tie the match. It's tough.
Whoops.
Yep. Whoops. All right. So Saturday morning, not great, but
you probably breeze through some of these.
Rory and Fleetwood go back out against Thomas and Spieth. Europe comes out, wins the first 3 holes. So through the first 6, they're up 3-1. Or they're up 3. Then they kind of go back and forth a little bit. They get a little momentum. USA wins 13-14. But then again, Europe wins 15, USA wins 16, Europe wins 17. Probably the best kind of match overall with the back and forth and things like that. Obviously, kind of two teams full of guys who have been to a bunch of these, and two really strong teams. But again, Europe comes out 2-1.
I think that was Rory's dagger there on 17, right?
Yeah,
Didn't he stuff one there to win?
Mm-hmm. And look, if Rory's putting wedges close, not something we're used to seeing him do. And then this next one is this is one we'll breeze right by. Victor and Ludwig win 9-7 against Scotty and Brooks.
Scotty in tears. Scotty in tears.
The USA does not win a hole. Europe ties 2 of 11 holes and wins 9-7, which I think is a Ryder Cup or tied a Ryder Cup record, right?
Yeah. Is that something you think about for the next 2 years? Like, it's got to be. Like, is that in Scheffler's head for the next till the next?
How could it not be in Brooks's head?
Because Brooks doesn't give a shit about anything.
I feel like when he loses, he does.
You think so? I don't know. Yeah, but not he as an individual. Maybe I don't know. He probably blamed the whole thing on Scotty, and I don't know. Maybe he does, but is that something? Like I remember hearing when Kobe Bryant, when the Lakers lost to the Celtics in 2008, I think all Kobe Bryant said, like, he literally thought about that for an entire year. Like, wouldn't look at the color green, wouldn't wear the color green. Like, is this when you get your just absolutely destroyed like that in kind of a team event on that national stage, representing your country, and not only do you lose the cup, but you go out and put on a performance like that where you get just absolutely manhandled. Like, that's got to be in your head till the next Ryder Cup, right?
I mean,
like, it has to be
a
little bit. Like, that would drive me nuts.
Yeah, it's an historic thing.
I think I heard on the radio this morning, like, there was one other match that was worse than that in, like, Ryder Cup history, and it was, I don't know, however many years ago.
Yeah, it was like back when it was just GB and I against the US.
Yeah, and like, that would drive. That's pathetic. It's disgusting. I'd be beside myself.
Yeah, against the guy who led all of golf in strokes gained the entire year, and the other guy who won a major.
Yeah,
just boat raced.
That would drive me nuts too. And then, crying over on the sidelines and shit. Like, it just was not a good. It was not a good situation.
Well, look, match 3. There's a glimmer of hope, I guess. Lowry and Straka lose to Homa and Harmon 4-2. The first full point on the board for the USA.
We're back.
We're totally back. I think Harmon was, wasn't an anchor in this one. He wasn't kind of weighing Homa down. He at least played decent enough. And it wasn't really that close. They win 3 out of the last 7, and tie the others to kind of put that away. Last match of the day, Rahm and Hatton go back out against Cantlay and Xander. And again, US wins 12-13-14, to kind of tie it up, and then ties and loses 16-17. Like, it just could not figure it out in those last couple holes, how to kind of put these matches away when it was close. I'm not sure, like, if you can't win. They were down a lot after the first hole, and then couldn't win on the last 2. So, like, I'm not sure how you win a lot of match play when that's how you're playing. All right, that was the morning. The afternoon, again, a little bit of hope. Victor and Ludwig go back out. They lose to Sam Burns and Colin Morikawa, which is kind of shocking. At this point, I think Victor's played every session. So, probably a little bit tired.
Yeah. Tough golf course to walk.
Yeah.
From what told, but
certainly not what you would expect seeing those pairings when you heard them.
Yeah, but you know what? They had themselves a lead. Not that they weren't trying to win, but that's why you give yourself that cushion for stuff like that that could potentially happen.
Yeah.
So, yeah. What else happened?
And then Fleetwood and Højgaard lose to Homan and Harmon, who go out again, win 2-1, so 2 points right there. Rose and McIntyre go back out, beat Thomas and Spieth 3-2, which is, again, the boys were falling apart at this point. Especially Mr. Spieth just had kind of lost it. And then to end the day,
damn it, Michael! Come on, Michael!
To end the day, Matty Fitz and Rory lose to Cantlay and Wyndham Clark. This is where Cantlay wins those last 2 holes. We get the whole Joe LaCava controvery. I gotta hear your opinions on this one.
I love it. We'll take anything like that we can get in golf, right? Maybe not necessarily in individual tournament play, but for the Ryder Cup, a little extra something, like hell yeah, let's do it. It was great.
When that video of him came out, like in the parking lot, they call it the car park or whatever, but I saw somebody tweet, they're like, guys, you don't understand. Pointing and yelling in golf is like a bench clearing ball. And
exactly, right?
This is what we're living for, And again, like I can see where McIlroy's coming from, especially that second camera angle where it shows that he kind of back at him a second time. Like the first time, okay, he probably wasn't in his line of sight, but he was close enough. But then to kind of make that second move back towards Rory, and then he's yelling at, probably Lowry, from what I understand, off of the green, made it look a little bit worse. But I think it kind of backfired for the Americans, to be honest. Like they had momentum, and I think that was just one more thing that kind of galvanized that European team and brought them together and said, okay, now let's go out and do something about this on Sunday.
Yeah. If Cantlay just wins those holes and takes that match back and nothing like this happens, I think you're absolutely right. I think the US goes in with the momentum into that entire night and into singles. And this kind of like refired up, like you said, they were up by so much. They're kind of taking, this Saturday to like not use too much energy, maybe get themselves ready for the next day. Cantlay turns the match around the last 2 holes, making some monster putts. But then this stupid thing, and I've heard a bunch of opinions about this. Whereas I agree that like golf drama is the dumbest, most high schooly, like pansy drama that exists in the world of sports, maybe outside of like tennis or something like that. It's just like at some point it's almost like, dude, like you're the caddy, like get the fuck out of the way. Like you're not the one who made the putt. You're not on Tiger's bag where like this is cool. Like you're on Patrick Cantlay's bag. Like just get the fuck out of the way.
Right. If that was Tiger, not Cantlay,
it's completely different.
Does anybody say a word?
No one says a word.
Nobody says a word.
No one says a word.
If Tiger's standing there,
and
LaCava's on the bag, he could do it. He could go walk in Rory's line.
Right. He could pick up Rory's ball and hand it to him and be like, you don't need that anymore, son.
Throw it into the crowd.
Right. And no one would say
nothing
thing.
Nothing would happen. But yeah, I loved it. Like nothing was going to happen. Like nobody was going to actually fight. You're going to go after LaCava and Jim Bones, who has 2 hip replacements and double your age. Like nothing was actually going to happen. Because I think that's who Roy was screaming out in the parking lot. Of course it wasn't,
then, because it's golf and it's not like.
So, again, I don't necessarily need to see that in an individual like tournament event, but the Ryder Cup, the way that the fans are involved and talking shit and waving their hats or tipping their caps or whatever, like go for it. I loved it. It was great. It was great.
Yeah. it's the constant reminder that golfers are the biggest pansies in the world when
you
it
never
comes to
know what could
sports.
happen. You never know. It could have been something.
No, it couldn't have.
Just get back in your courtesy car.
Right, get in
You're
your
due at the-
BMW and
You're due at the masseuse in
drink
half an hour.
your glass of wine when you get home and get over it.
Did you happen to see Fitzpatrick's face though in the still shot
Yes,
when Rory's
that was fantastic. Yeah,
Patrick's holding his cup of coffee and just has this like
yeah.
completely look on his face like he wanted no part of what was going on.
He's like the freshman basketball player when the seniors are yelling at each other.
Or when Stein's in the background talking shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Instigating fights,
Yeah. Yeah,
back in the day.
that's right.
That's good.
So
yeah, I agree with you, Regz. I think it was not it didn't help the Americans all that went down because obviously, the way the press is going to show it, the way being Europe in their home environment, that is in no way going to show any sympathy to the Americans.
Yeah.
It was
even
jerk
the caddies,
off
right? Even the caddies can't adhere to the code of decency.
What is Patrick Reed out here or something?
Yeah,
Like, come on, So, yeah, that certainly, I think, got everybody more fired up going into Sunday.
Yeah.
Which is really, not that they would have come back and win, but again, getting to that individual grind. Americans typically, Team USA typically does better in that individual
play. Yeah. So,
but between the lead and the parking lot green /green incident, it was just a matter of time. Like how was it going to happen?
Yeah. So we go into Sunday singles. Rahm Scheffler right out the bat. I think everyone was looking forward to this. Pretty back and forth, and Rahm wins the last hole to tie it.
Good.
Scotty doesn't win a full point for the team.
Oh boy,
which is wild considering how good that guy has been playing. Match number 2, Hovland versus Morikawa. Not a shock. Victor 4-3. Morikawa did not play well. And at this point, when it's a guy, I don't know. It's one of the things that is always talked about. Is like, do you take the consistent guy who just plays well all the time? It feels like in these kind of situations, though, you need the guys who are just volatile. Who cares if they shoot a triple on one hole? If they're going to hit 9 birdies, who cares if they make a quad like on one hole? It makes no difference. But just the fact that they can make 9 birdies is what you need in these situations. And Colin just has not been that guy this year. He hasn't had those kind of peaks.
That was Morikawa or Hovland, right?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Like, do you put a Koepka up against a Hovland and Koepka can kind of be, try and be intimidating and kind of be a dick, kind of take some of the joy and fun away from Hovland just to throw him off a little bit. I don't know if that would be any type of.
I think honestly, like
strategy.
I thought when we talked about this in the preview, like this seems like a DJ place. DJ's a guy who can just go out and make a bunch of birdies.
DJ gone. He gone.
I know, I understand that, but you just think about it on this team. Who's the guy that can just go out and make a ton of birdies? Like, yeah, Brooks is one of them. Scotty's another one. Max kind of proved he could be that guy, but like Max in regular tournaments and majors, like hasn't really shown up. Like DJ is the guy who could go out there and just make a ton of birdies. So you were almost missing somebody like that.
No shit. Yeah,
for this
you're
spot.
right. We were missing. You're right.
Yeah, for this spot, like Colin just doesn't have the peaks that a Victor will.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. You almost you put somebody, you have Hovland's personality, and you put somebody on the opposite end
just
of
to
the
try
spectrum
and
who's
try
kind
and throw
of
it off a
kind
little
of a
bit.
dick and kind of tries to play those mind games. maybe complain about slow play or walking ahead of the person.
Yeah.
Like just throw it off from a mental do you put Brooks in as that guy? Does that break Hovland's concentration at all?
Yeah.
I
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know. I don't know.
Is this where you kind of miss what the President's Cup does too, though, of matching? Like this is a completely blind draw,
Yeah.
right? Like at least the President's Cup,
Oh,
one team throws out a name and then the other team counters with a name,
And then
and
the
you
other
kind of
team
get
goes.
that
It's
back.
like a snake draft almost. Yeah.
okay.
Correct. Yeah. Like, I mean, especially after what happened Saturday night.
Yeah.
Like, if you wanted these to happen, this was the Sunday to do it. But that blind draw gave you these matchups, and that's what you
You're
got.
right.
Yeah, I saw a lot about that because people are like, "How do you not put Rory and Cantlay together?" Like this is just about it. This whole weekend is about entertainment. How do you not throw those two guys together in singles? But yeah, you're right. It's kind of the format, and I saw a lot of people being like, "Can we change that? Can we make it? Europe throws a name out, USA counters, then USA has to throw a name out, Europe counters, like, and that's how you roll through these singles matches." I think that would be great because I think the strategy of that, and you should televise it and put the NFL draft music behind it, like, that like dun up next.
That's one of the best viewing parts of the President's Cup, I think, is when they do that. They do show that, in that, especially that singles draw. And like you said, you're getting Rory and Cantlay. You're probably getting Rahm and Koepka after the comments that Koepka made.
Yep.
Yeah.
Those are two tailor-made matches right there that you have a very small chance of getting when you're just throwing them in a blind draw together.
Yeah, it's a really good point. Next one, McIlroy beats Burns. Or no, excuse me, I went too far. Cantlay. Yeah, McIlroy beats Burns 3-1. Not shocking there. This one, Homa beats Fitz 1-up. Max makes a big putt on 18 to keep
Dude,
it
what
tied.
a ballsy move. Like I like to just, and like he said he gave all the credit to his caddy.
Yeah,
but
to take the unplayable, right?
Unplayable lie. Like that was ballsy, and he pulled it off. So good for Max.
Yeah, again, a great interview with Max on the No Laying Up podcast. If you want to just go listen to some like really honest feedback on the whole event and kind of what was going on, really, really good. Would highly recommend. Hatton goes out and beats Harmon 3-2. Again, Brian just didn't have it.
Yeah.
Next three matches, Koepka beats Aberg 3-2. Again, if Brooks isn't beating a rookie, I'm not sure why he's on the team in the first place. JT beats Sepp Straka. Again, from a talent standpoint, there's no kind of question here. It was just if JT was going to kind of figure it out. And luckily he does. Xander beats Højgaard 3-2. Again, so 3 matches in a row for Team USA. Again, it's closer, but it's not as close as it might seem. Again, if Xander isn't beating a rookie, what's the point? Next one's Lowry ties Spieth. Jordan just did not have it. Like he had lost it. It's just not. The game is not there, unfortunately. And then to seal it up, Fleetwood beats Ricky Fowler 3-1. And that seals the deal. And in the end, last match, McIntyre beats Wyndham Clark, but who cares?
Yeah, well, Fleetwood, I mean, ultimately he secured.
Right, that's what I mean. Yep, that was it. That was the winning point.
Blasted one into the water. Fleetwood hit an awesome tee shot. Left the putt a little short.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I guess Rory, like he's not, you give Fleetwood that putt 100 times. How many times?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Once or twice. Like, I think Rory was like, all right, well done. Let's go.
Yeah,
home.
right. Let's go. Yeah.
All done.
Yeah, Ricky at that point is kind of all over it. So that's the Ryder Cup, folks. But I just want to quickly, I want to go over the overall records for everybody. And then we can kind of give our final thoughts on the event as a whole. So Ludwig goes 2-2-0. Matty Fitz goes 1-2-0. Tommy Fleetwood 3-1-0. Tyrrell 3-0-1. Nikolai Højgaard 0-2-1. Victor Hovland 3-1-1. Lowry goes 1-1-1. Big Shot Bob goes 2-0-1 somehow.
Bobby.
Rory 4-1, by far his best Ryder Cup performance
Best showing
ever.
for sure. Yeah.
Rahm goes 2-0-2. Justin Rose goes 1-1-1. Seb Straka 1-2-0. From the USA side, Burns goes 1-2-0. Cantlay 2-2. Wyndham 1-1-1. Ricky 0-2-0. Just terrible. Again, only plays 2 total matches. Brian Harmon 2-2-0. Max 3-1-1. Koepka 1-1-1. Colin 1-3-0. Xander 1-3-0. Scotty 0-2-2. Wins 1 total point
Yikes.
for the Americans. Jordan Spieth 0-2-2. Justin Thomas 1-2-1. Max Homa, the only winning record on the entire U.S. team.
Wow.
So who wants to go first? Kind of your overall thoughts on the entire event.
Well, I think we talked about it a little bit before we officially came on. It's like, where does the U.S. go from here? You kind of have Europe. They've kind of reloaded like this. They've got some good young talent that obviously enjoys playing with each other. I mean, the U.S. kind of got a little lucky last Ryder Cup. It was kind of like the farewell tour for a lot of those mainstay guys. Now Europe's kind of, they've got a good core group of guys that enjoy playing with each other and play really, really well. So it'll be interesting to see. It'll be interesting to see the team 2 years from now for the next American Ryder Cup. You look at, if you continue to trend, Justin Thomas keeps trending the way he's trending. Jordan Spieth keeps trending the way he's trending. Like who's what's going to happen with some of these live guys? Like who's going to be on the American team in 2 years if some of these guys that we're really counting on continue to play?
I mean, at this point, the only locks are probably Homa and Scotty.
I know, Regz. Homa, I know. He's your boy.
How do you not put him on the next Ryder Cup?
Don't
give me shit for that.
He's on the next Ryder Cup. Yeah, and
put him on right now, probably.
Yeah, and too, like where's the captaincy? Like that was pitiful.
Yeah.
Zach Johnson can sugarcoat it all he wants. That was awful.
Yeah.
And like that was just terrible. Like where do you go from a captaincy? Like who's coming in to be the next captain?
I think the U.S. has to like do away with this whole kind of 1 year, like one and done model. Like you've seen that some of these guys, like a Davis Love. I mean, as much as I hate Azinger as a commentator, like he was a good Ryder Cup captain. You know what I mean? Like,
he did his Navy SEAL training. Put him through Navy SEAL training.
Yeah, of course. But like, you just have to like, who cares if you run the same guy out?
Yeah.
Like, if it's going to make guys comfortable and they have a system that they like, and like, who cares? Like, I don't care. Like, let's just be honest. Like, I don't think Tiger's going to be a great Ryder Cup captain.
Yeah, but they'll listen.
Like,
they'll
listen to him, sure. But does that mean he's going to make every decision well?
Between him and Freddie, and where's Michael Jordan? Bring him back as his assistant
Freddie's
captain.
an idiot. He was wrong twice. Like, he told reporters twice the wrong information.
I still trust Freddie. I think he was purposely doing that to take some of the heat
I see.
off of Zach Johnson.
Gotcha. Yeah.
That's I think that's my biggest takeaway. Like what is our team going to look like? What, a year and a half from now or 2 years from now?
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it was everybody talked about Europe was coming in hot, right? They played those tournaments overseas and they didn't have the 5 weeks off. And all those, I think, 10 of their 12 guys finished top 15 in that event right before the Ryder Cup. And you got 10.5 points out of McIlroy, Rahm, and Hovland.
Mm-hmm.
10.5 points in 14 matches that those guys played. Then you look at Scheffler, Schauffele, and Morikawa gave you 3 points in 12 matches. And again, Morikawa is probably not one of your top 3, but, a couple majors and those guys. And it's like Fairbanks said, who's coming through that door now for the Americans? I mean, their 2 closest no calls this year were who? Lucas Glover and Keegan Bradley.
Yeah,
You know,
right.
those aren't young guys that are waiting in the wings to just step up, and Europe seems to have some other guys that they're going to be able to roll into. Does Justin Rose make another team in 2 years? Probably not, but he's probably going to be there in some capacity. Lowry probably not in 2 years. But other than that, unless I'm really forgetting somebody that's on that team, you might have those 10 guys coming to Bethpage feeling pretty good about themselves.
Yeah, big shot Bob was probably out.
Well, yeah, and I think there's a guy that the Europeans probably should have taken. I don't know, I forget his name, but there's a European guy that got left.
Oh yeah, it
off
was like
the
an
team
Italian guy, wasn't he? He was
who-
he was a young kid too.
who's
Really
played
young.
some damn good golf. Like,
Yeah.
they have.
And
they-
Højgaard
they-
has a twin, like who's
Mhm.
also very good, like, and has won European Tour events already.
Yeah, Matty Fitz has a brother too. He just turned pro. Like, who knows? I don't know. Europe they just have a lot of pieces where we're looking like, yeah,
It's almost like
who's up?
what's like Cam Young. Like, I know he was close in the Open and played pretty well a
Right.
little bit.
Cal
Like,
Young. What is
he's
the
on
Zalatoris
the younger
ever come
side.
back?
Yeah, it's like I feel like Zalatoris is a huge bummer. I feel like that guy, with the way when the golf courses get harder, but he just seems to be able to pull off shots.
Yeah, but the
all the
problem is
time.
with his injury.
Well,
he's
no,
gonna
yeah,
have to
that's
go
why it's such a bummer.
and he's gonna have to go through swing check. I mean, that's a whole nother situation.
He probably
but like,
plays in 12 Ryder Cups if he doesn't get hurt.
Yeah, can you count on him? Cam Young, Finau was off the team.
Yeah.
These live guys
And
are they ever
Finau's
gonna
not
be
that young
back?
anymore.
And
Finau's like not
Finau's
that young.
yeah. So, all right, I'm done. I'll shut up. That's just it's. What do you think?
They're all good
Regz?
points. I just think we can go into all that. I think that we can talk about like each just player sort of skill level and their ceiling and the floor, the talent that they have. I just think Europe cares more about this than we do.
100%.
The talent at a point where we were dominating this, the talent was different. The talent between Europe and the US.
Right. You
was
can roll out of the
different.
car and tee it up.
And like even when we
and-
say that, Phil and Tiger have some of the worst Ryder Cup records in the history of this event. The two greatest players that this sport has seen in the past 50 years
That's the only.
have some of the worst records in this event
Oh
that
my
you've ever
God.
seen.
Oh, the year that they were paired together.
And that almost speaks to my point. These guys, the Europeans, take this as something that's a privilege. That when
Yeah.
they step through into that team room, like John Rahm isn't the number one player in the world. Rory isn't the face of the PGA Tour. They're just like another guy on this team. I don't think Rahm looks at himself as any different than Bob McIntyre when they step into the team room. You know who looks at
Bobby.
himself different? Brooks Koepka looks at Sam Burns different. You know what I mean? Like and I'm not saying that's all of them because I don't think JT and Jordan do that. I think they are there for the right reasons and take this thing seriously. And there are guys that do it, but when it really comes down to it, the United States players, for a majority, I'm not going to say everybody because we do see guys who, love being here and want to take this thing seriously and are there for the right reasons. I'll just say for the majority, I feel like eventually when you get into these pressure situations and when you get into these moments that you have to kind of steel yourself, Europe looks to their teammates for support. The USA guys they shrink. They go like this. They tighten up. They go, well, if I have to do this, I have to do this. It's not going to be because my guys are sitting on the hill cheering me on. Like, I have to focus up and figure out how to do this as an individual. Like, you saw it when Rose made the putt, he pointed to the hill to every single guy. And he's like, I made that putt for them. I didn't make it for myself. I didn't make it so Justin Rose like tied a match. I made it so that Europe tied the match. And that's not the same attitude. I don't know. Maybe it is because golf is such an individual sport. And in the United States, when you play an individual sport, like, you're probably not playing a lot of team sports. You're not playing baseball and basketball and football and soccer where you can't do it by yourself. Like, when you're in these individual sports, you're taught, like, it's all on you. You're the one who has to do this. You have to push through this mentally. And if you just played baseball your whole life, if you took a kid who just played baseball his whole life and a kid who just played golf his whole life, I bet if you ask them the same question, about, hey, who do you play for? You'd get very different answers,
Mm-hmm.
Sure. And I think Europe just has a different culture about it.
Yeah.
It's just different. Like, again, you hear whiny shit from European players all the time. I'm not saying that when you become a professional at an individual sport, it doesn't, like, you have to be you have to be cocky. You have to be confident. You have to, like, just think I can beat the world. But for whatever reason, when they get in a room together, those egos don't exist. They don't exist. And for the USA team, I think when they get in those pressure situations, their circle shrinks instead of being open to, like, feeling it from their teammates and being open to, like I didn't make that putt for me. I made it for you guys. So
Yeah.
I don't know how that changes. I obviously don't have all the answers. And that's not to say that when the USA players get there, they don't care. That's not what I'm saying. That's not, like, what I'm trying to put out there. It's just when pressure is applied, the Europeans look to their teammates for confidence and for a boost, and the USA players, they tighten up.
All right. So, last thing, 2025 Bethpage. Who wins?
Hoover, what do you think, man?
It's hard to go against the trend. I mean, 8 of the last 9 are at home.
Yeah.
The home team wins. It's Medina is the only exception in that run of those last 9, including this year, and they're not particularly close until you get back to, like, 10. 2010 was a 1-point win, and then you had Medina, but since then 5 is the closest anything has been. I think you're going to have to really search hard to find any rough at Bethpage. I mean, after what you saw over there, I think they're going to shave down all the rough. They're going to let the Americans just hit it wherever they want, and they're just going to try to play to their strengths. I think the U.S. will win there. I don't know who the captain will be. I know Tiger's name's been thrown out there a lot. I kind of agree with you, Regz. I don't think he's going to make a particularly great Ryder Cup captain, other than the respect the guys are going to have for him. But there's other sports where I think this too. Like, if the 3 of us are the next 3 captains for the United States, is the record any different? I mean, I just don't. And that goes back to what you were saying about the American players doing it for themselves. I don't know that the guy in that position is making such a difference. Like, I have nothing against Zach Johnson. I kind of thought he was a boring golfer to watch. And his captaincy was kind of like that. It was all, well, analytics played a part in this, and I don't really want to go into this, and I don't really want to talk about this. We were kind of sick, and we needed a doctor, but not really. It was just the sniffles. Like, those kind of answers. And it just, I don't know if that attitude permeated that room or not, but, the night that they had the opening ceremony, they asked the European players for interviews. They did interviews. They were laughing. They were joking around. They asked the American players for interviews. Nope, we're not doing interviews. No media tonight after the opening ceremony. No autographs, restricting access to the team room. Europe opened the doors to their team room and said, hey, look, here's what it is. Come on in and take a look. And I think all that goes into it. So really what it comes down to for me at this point is just home field advantage. And if the Americans can set up a golf course like they want to set it up at Bethpage, of course that crowd there is going to be ridiculous, and rowdy and everything that you want at a Ryder Cup. But I if I had to pick right now, I would pick the Americans solely based on it's at home.
Yeah. I think to that point, but I also would think if you were to say in the next 10 years who wins an away Ryder Cup, I would pick Europe before the US as having a better chance to do it. I'm not saying they're going to do it, because I completely agree with you that I think we're just in a point where the talent is so the same, and like just being at home and being, in the US compared to Europe, like that's just what's making the difference right now. I don't think the golf course this particular time was any differentiator for either team, as opposed to at like Le Golf National. That was a ridiculous setup for anyone other than the European team, right? But
so who are you picking?
I think that I'm with Hoover. I think the USA still win it, because I think we're just at a point where this is the only thing that can sway it either way. Like I said, I'd be less shocked if Europe won it on on USA soil than I would be for the US having a shot to win on the European soil. And I would give that the next decade. Like,
All right.
Yeah.
Well, if you two go US, I'll go Europe just for giggles. I think enough of those guys play so much golf over the United States here. And I think I don't know if the course will hold as big an advantage other than the home crowd.
Yeah.
But I think Europe right now has some players on their team that kind of enjoy it, like all the hazing and the razzing. And
I mean, look, I literally think New Yorkers are going to be slashing courtesy car tires. Like at this point, like I'm dead serious.
Yeah.
Like they're going to have to put like,
I just think
jail bars in the windows of the team room.
Yeah, I just think Europe, the team's so deep. Like, and as of right now, we don't have the guys to match up with them.
Yeah,
we don't. So I'll go Europe.
Good for you. I don't think it's a ridiculous pick.
It was the last event at Bethpage, the PGA. What was that? 17.
Yeah.
Yeah. Kepka.
I was there. I don't remember the year. The flag's behind me, but I don't. I mean, I know you said they play a lot of golf over here, just not on that golf course. So I don't know if it will just come down to setup, or I mean, I just got done talking about how I think the Europeans are set up better going forward with talent, like you said. But Regz, you're exactly right. The line is so minuscule between the best guy at the Ryder Cup and the worst guy at the Ryder Cup that I just think it comes down to home course.
Yeah, it's just not the same talent like disparity that it might have been 15, 20 years ago. It's just not the same. And look, that's why we talk about it all the time, and this can kind of be the final point, but like we talk about this all the time. It's why we don't see multiple major winners every year. It's why we don't see guys dominating the sport for years at a time. It's like there's not an outlier right now. Tiger was an outlier. People will forget in the annals of history, Phil is an outlier. Like when you really look at Phil's career, he's an outlier. He wasn't as big of an outlier as Tiger, and that will forever make him the second best, But those guys are like, when you're plotting your chart, those guys are way up here. And now everyone's just kind of on the same, There's variations, obviously, either way. But there's not a lot of outliers right now. They're all just at this talent level. And it just comes down to things other than how good at golf you are. And that's like you said, 8 of the last 9 have been, whoever's at home wins, and not by an insignificant amount. So we will certainly be excited to see what it looks like in 2 years. Obviously a lot of time in between them, in between now and then. The team, who the hell knows will be on the team at that point. But it was an interesting Ryder Cup for sure. It was certainly, I still had fun watching it compared to most golf that you watch on TV, even though the TV product was absolute garbage. I still enjoyed watching it just because it's fun to have them maybe care about something other than how much money they're getting paid. But hey, Hoover, thanks for joining us, buddy. Hopefully we made your first podcast experience a good one. We appreciate, you coming on with us and not only coming on, but, listening for so long and bugging Fairbanks when we don't record.
I'll stay on him for sure.
Thank you. I
Keep him
appreciate
honest.
that. But
Thanks for having me.
It was a lot of fun. So thanks for joining us. And everyone, like we always say, if you're we are on YouTube. We record every podcast. We record video for every podcast. You can see our beautiful faces. So go subscribe to the YouTube channel. The link will be in the show description. You can follow the podcast platform on Instagram at B&B Podcast. You can follow the same thing on Twitter. You can follow the pod on Twitter at the Two-Way Miss. You can follow me on Twitter at Big Regz with a Z. You can follow Mr. Fairbanks on Instagram at FairbanksC23. Look, thank you as always for listening, watching, wherever you are. Whenever you listen, leave us a note about what you thought about the Ryder Cup. We'd love to hear from you. But until the next one, everyone, have a good night. Stay safe, and we will talk to you very, very soon. So thanks again.
Oh, it's not a cut. That's a slice.
Now this is a quack hook.
Oh,
Short
wow.
and into the right rough, headed to the trees.
Oh my God, it's a shake. He decided to re-tee.